Okay, listeners, that was a hand of applause in support of what GT is doing to support students' learning worldwide. In today's presentation, we will be looking at the APA style lecture 2. We had lecture 1, and the lecture 1 went viral, and it attracted a lot of views worldwide, which surprised me. That kind of tell me that students were hungry for such and looking forward to such presentations that will add knowledge to what their lecturers have been telling them in the classroom. So it really gave me some motivation to do this in order to help students get settled well in their APA formatting. In our previous lesson, we had looked at types of plagiarism, and we mentioned intentional, unintentional, and partial plagiarism. And the last question was that which of them is more punishable? And the response was none of them, no exception. A crime is a crime. So if you commit one or two of them, you still get punished as a victim. So don't say, oh, I didn't intend to plagiarize, so forgive me. No, all of them are punishable. We also look at the levels of violations and the punishment meted out. We said in the first instance, a student is warned seriously. In the second instance, the student gets a 0 score in that assignment or the entire course at the end of the term. And in the third instance, the student faces academic board for defense or for dismissal. And this is not a fit-all for all schools. Some schools even have put in more tougher punishment for an act of plagiarism. So as a student, you need to know the level of plagiarism that your school considers to be able to settle down and get free of plagiarism. In today's lecture, we are going to look at how to avoid plagiarism. Okay, now we know what plagiarism is and then how plagiarism can send you home. But how do you do in order to survive this act of crime? We have given some examples here. One, a student can avoid plagiarism through paraphrasing, citation, and referencing, quotation. We have simple and block quotation through the use of Grammarly. In fact, Grammarly is a free plagiarism checker online. You can sign up, and all you do is after writing, you cut and paste and put it on Grammarly. And Grammarly will underline certain areas that need attention to be paid to, where you need to cite or reference properly the source of your statement, that where it is coming from. So that will draw your attention to be able to properly cite and reference so that you'll be free of plagiarism. We also have other paid plagiarism checkers. An example is Turnitin. Turnitin. So some schools have paid for those softwares that students can, also allow to use them to check before they turn in their assignments. The last one is the use of cross-reference. Cross-reference is a tool that helps researchers and writers to ensure that their information is correct and reliable, especially when you want to reference authors. The author's name usually is the last name, and then with the middle and first names all abbreviated. You initialize them plus the year of publication. I will be taking a deeper look at that in our third lecture or presentation, but for now, let's concentrate on what we need to do. Now, what is paraphrasing? What is the act of paraphrasing. So this is a simple definition here. Paraphrasing is a process of restating someone's written or verbal statement, idea, assertion that does not undermine the original meaning or sense of the statement, idea, or assertion. I take it again. Paraphrasing is a process of restating someone's written or verbal statement, idea, or assertion that does not undermine the original meaning or sense of the statement, idea, or assertion. Okay, so if you attempt paraphrasing and then at the end of it all the meaning is lost, then you are not paraphrasing. It still has to do with maintain the original meaning. We all know in science that matter cannot be destroyed, but it can be transformed. Matter can be transformed, but matter cannot be destroyed. So if you destroy matter, then it's no longer matter. So coming back to academic writing, so if you paraphrase somebody's statement, an idea, okay, and it kind of changes or undermines the original meaning, then you are not paraphrasing. You shouldn't, paraphrase in order to change the sense or the original meaning of it. In fact, paraphrasing is used as a substitute for direct quotation. Okay, so if you don't want to quote, then you have to paraphrase. One thing students should know is that in academic writing, you shouldn't allow your work to be more than 50% quoted. You don't need to quote more than 50%. Okay, why do you? That tells you how lazy you are. Okay, it's acceptable, but it doesn't tell your lecturers, your readers, the kind of scholarly person you are. Always quoting. Why can't you paraphrase? Okay, you have to show your skills. So it's advisable not. You can quote. You are allowed to quote, but don't overquote your work. So don't quote. We don't expect to see over 50% of your paper, entire paper, being quoted. So try to paraphrase. So learn how to paraphrase and add some quotations. That makes your work stronger. Okay. Now let's look at some examples of paraphrasing. Okay, you know the meaning of paraphrasing. That doesn't allow changing the destroying the original meaning of the statement. But how do we do that? I have some examples here with one original statement and another paraphrase statement. With the original one, here it says, according to the universal adult suffrage rule, a person must be 18 years or older to have the right of vote. Again, according to the universal adult suffrage rule, a person must be 18 years or older to have the right of vote. This pertains to the government students. Now, how do I paraphrase this statement without undermining the original meaning? So let's look at the paraphrase version here. Okay, to exercise one's franchise, a person must not be less than 18 years of age per the universal adult suffrage rule. That is the paraphrase. So it hasn't changed the meaning of it. Okay, so in both statements, the important content is that to be able to vote, you must not be less than 18 years. But if you are 18 years or more, you are all qualified to vote. So the paraphrase version doesn't change any meaning from the original. So what do you see? You see how to paraphrase? You like it? All right, let's go further and learn some more things. All right, now we're going to look at paraphrasing versus summarizing. Okay, what are their differences? So whether if you are doing something, you should know whether you are paraphrasing or summarizing. Okay, so paraphrasing is a restatement of someone's idea, thoughts, or assertion in your own words. Okay, that is paraphrasing. While summarizing is reducing someone's written or verbal work into a shorter but meaningful version. So that is summarizing. So don't summarize an article and then say you are paraphrasing. So you must know the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing. I think when we were in high school, in our English lessons, reading lessons, we were told to summarize certain passages into smaller versions, which we did. Okay, so that is summarizing, which we learned in our secondary years, but we probably were not taught how to paraphrase. But now that you are in a higher academic level, you need to know the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing in order to avoid plagiarism. Now, there are some situations where a student does not need to paraphrase or quote and cite. Okay, you don't have to paraphrase all the time. There are certain situations when you are writing in the process of academic writing, you don't have to paraphrase, quote, or cite. So we are going to look at when do we do that. You are not required to paraphrase when you are using what is called common knowledge. Okay, when you are writing and you are using what is called common knowledge, you don't have to paraphrase or cite or quote. Also, when you are doing what is called reflective writing through personal experience, you don't have to quote or cite or paraphrase. Okay. Now, what is common knowledge? Okay. To know what you are doing, if maybe sometimes if you are graded and then the student doesn't like it, you can argue to the lecturer that, hey, what I said was common knowledge. What is common knowledge? So let us understand what constitutes common knowledge. By definition, common knowledge is a widespread knowledge through little or no effort. I take it again. Common knowledge is a widespread knowledge through little or no effort. Okay? All right. Let's take an example of common knowledge. 1. If I say the sun rises from the east and settles at the west, this is common knowledge. If you want, you can call it common truth, the whole world. But some people may argue that you have to go to school to be able to know this. But that is not the basis of the argument here. Remember, the definition is getting a knowledge, widespread knowledge, through little or no effort. So we assume that everybody is educated. If you go to the whole world, anywhere you go, everybody knows the sun rises from the east and settles at the west. And that's common knowledge. So if you make a statement such as this, you don't have to paraphrase, you don't have to cite, you don't have to quote. Example 2, there are 6 continents in the world. This is also another common truth. There are 6 common continents in the world. So in this statement, you don't cite, you don't paraphrase, you don't quote. And the last example is 25th December is Christmas Day. Who can argue this worldwide? So these are some of the examples of what? Common knowledge. Now, let's also look at what is not common knowledge that you need to pay attention and cite and reference. For example, if I say 50% of the world population are vegetarians, the big question is, how do you know? For this one, you have to cite, you have to maybe quote and reference, because this is not common knowledge. Okay, this is an informed statement from a source. So if you just say 50% of the world population are vegetarians, you have to cite. This is not common knowledge. Another statement that is not common knowledge is Nigeria is the richest country in West Africa. How do you know? Okay. What are the economic process? What are the elements, the economic elements that you use to determine that Nigeria is richer than other West African countries? Okay, so you need to prove this because it's not common knowledge. 3, all Northerners in Ghana are Muslims. I'm using this example because I'm a Ghanaian that come from Ghana, and most people, especially in the South, think that all Northerners are Muslims. Some, not all. That's what some of them feel. So when they see you the first time and then they learn that you are from the north, the first thing that comes to their mind is you are a Muslim. You are called Muhammad. Okay, but that is not true. So if you make this statement in your writing that all Northerners in Ghana are Muslims, you need to answer. Why? Who said that? Where did you get that information from? So basically, I'm just trying to give some examples of what is not common knowledge. And that is where you have to cite, paraphrase, or reference. Okay? All right. Also look at experience. Okay? In reflective writing or exposition through personal experience, you don't need to cite or reference or paraphrase. So what are the experience? When you are writing your personal experience from your work, okay? Bob Marley says, he who feels it knows it. Okay? He who feels it knows it. So if you are writing out of your experience, nobody can argue. Well, some people can argue with some facts or witness or interview other people to know that you are lying. But when you are saying something about your experience, there's no argument. So you don't need to cite. You go your experience from where? Family. You can also write your experience being a poor person. You can also write about experience being a rich man, your experience being a driver, your experience being a pilot. Okay, all these instances you don't need to cite, quote, or paraphrase. All right, what do you say? We have come to the end of this lecture and we have to test our listening skills by way of knowledge check. Okay, the question here is, what is the concept of paraphrasing in academic writing? A, it is a process of summarizing someone else's thoughts or ideas. B, it is a process of restating someone's thoughts or ideas while maintaining its originality. Or C, it is a process of restating someone's thoughts or ideas with little change of context. Okay, so which one is the correct one? A process of summarizing someone else's thoughts or ideas, or a process of restating someone's thoughts or ideas while maintaining its originality, or a process of restating someone's thoughts or ideas with little change of context. What is your best answer? Select. All right, what else? Do you like what you learned today? If yes, then subscribe so you can get more of these lectures all the time. It's not going to stop once it has started and it has received approval from students worldwide. This is going to continue until thy kingdom come. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you next class. Bye-bye.